thank you very much, and great to be with all of you this morning. Really excited to be sharing for the first time with this community. So again, thank you so much for the opportunity. I'll start with a little bit of background and context. I'm going to move fairly quickly, given the time we've been allotted today, and so I'll try to pause appropriately to adjust for translation as appropriate, but I will need to move quickly through the information. Subsequent to this, if anybody would like to speak to us directly or contact me for a follow-up, you can reach me at coverholt@oam.gg. That's coverholt@oam.gg. So we started the company in the fall of 2018, and we really started with the fundamental premise that today's generation of fans, more specifically the Gen Zs of this world and soon the Gen Alphas, thought differently about their sports, media, and entertainment choices. That they were tuning out traditional media channels while they were tuning into gaming and streaming platforms, social media platforms, and of course, esports. And so we set out to build a company that could address and create an authentic connection to that audience. And we took the action to invest in esports teams first as a manner to connect and reach that audience. I wanted to make sure that we hit on highlights, given that just yesterday we announced our 2021 earnings. And I'm pleased to report that we saw 69% revenue growth year over year, represented just about 5.8 million. I'll equally tell you that more than or just about 65% of that cash improvement fell right to the bottom line. And that's an indication of our strong gross margin in the business model that we built, and I'll share more on that in a moment. And again, if I were in all of your chairs, I'd want to know that we have a healthy cash position for the foreseeable future on which to run our business. We've had a terrific year, a collection of opportunities to celebrate and notable achievements both on the stage and in the boardroom. Most particularly, our MAD Lions are back-to-back championships. This is our Madrid Lions team that plays in the European League of Legends. This was an expansion team going back just 3 years, and this team has had an incredible trajectory. But again, as an investor, you should want to know that you're not only investing in a great leadership team and a well-founded business model, but also in the sports industry, that you're connected to a team that has a winning culture and tradition, and that certainly could be said to be true of OverActive Media in just these 3 short years. Again, it's also from no doubt the perspective of many on this call that you want to be investing in an experienced and seasoned leadership team. And with modesty aside, I would say that this is among the best and most developed and mature leadership team in the world today in this industry. Whether it be Adam and his incredible background as a investment banker and early stage M&A career executive, or Allison and her terrific career in sports and media, or Tyler and his time building the Nike brand here in Canada. You can see the referenced backgrounds here. This is a group that know each other from other past lives professionally, have worked together either in client relationships or as partners in other businesses. But it's an incredibly seasoned and well-developed group, and they're delivering unparalleled results in the world today. So as I said earlier, we're underway building out a business that connects to today's generation of fans. And we do that in a number of ways, but we take our origin in the esports business. We've made investments in the biggest and most important esport leagues in the world. And as part of that, we have direct and corresponding relationships with the biggest publisher partners in the world, Activision Blizzard and Riot Games. We own franchises in these leagues. Similar to sport, you pay up front to acquire your license or your franchise position. And then over time, you enjoy, in that partnership with the publishers who own the leagues, you enjoy the opportunity to share in the revenue growth, the broadcast media rights, the marketing partnerships and licensing agreements that get done at the league level. We get to share in all those revenues as franchise league partners. Call of Duty League, Overwatch League, and League of Legends are the only franchise leagues in the world today. Said it differently, they're the only franchise league, or they're the only esport leagues in the world that share revenue with their franchise partners. And OverActive Media has the distinction of being the only company in the world today that owns a franchise in each one of these leagues. It's a unique position for us, and it's a big part of why we see such high leverage and scalability in our product offering in our business today. It's important to realize that what we believe we're building is a modern day 21st century sports, media, and entertainment company that, again, is akin to a business model that looks like the National Football League or the National Hockey League or the NBA. The model around these leagues is built out around the traditional sports model that many of us have grown up watching and enjoying over years, except for an audience that is native digital and global in its orientation, and today is scaling faster than any of those major traditional sports leagues for many years. It's also the case as part of our business model that we're building out a strategy for facility ownership. And with that in mind, we've set out over the last couple of years to develop a 7,000 seat performance venue that will allow OverActive Media to play a major role in the music and entertainment scene that lands to Toronto, now the 4th largest market in the world. And so I've shared a couple of slides here indicating our intention to invest and grow in this space. To be very clear, we will be only investors in the venue. The adjacent building there is a hotel that will not be for OverActive Media. But the venue is a huge proposition. We'll be partnered with some of the biggest and most experienced operators in the world. We've been now for most of 2 years talking to Live Nation and AG, ASM Global. These are the leading venue operators in the world, and we expect them, one or several of them, to be partners with us in this facility. And so all of this to say, whether it be through our franchise league investments, whether it be through our winning tradition that we built in just our 3 short years, or in our strategy for building audience, we've built a leading position in the world that's allowed us to take the company public in the last year. As I mentioned, we just reported our first year earnings, but it's a company that is well established in the space. As Gilbert said, well, are leaders in this country, and I would argue have a leading position globally today. And we'll have lots more to share as we go along in the coming weeks and months. Core to our strategy from the very beginning has been to build out a strategic offering in the marketing partnership space. I said earlier that one of the key drivers to our top line and bottom line revenue is the league revenue share that we enjoy in the franchise investments that we've made. It's similarly true that marketing partnerships, or sponsorships as they're often known, has been a key driver for OverActive Media, both here in Canada and in our European business based in Spain. We've built over just 2 short years, 24 global leading partners, many of them not endemic to the gaming space, but rather core brands that are seeking to authentically reach and connect with today's generation of fans. In Canada, organizations like Bell, TD, Red Bull, Jack Links, and Skip the Dishes. In Europe, Imagine Bank, Goico, Kappa, Razer, Seat. And more recently, we added a metaverse partner, NFT blockchain partner known as Zilliqa, emanating again from our European business. This is a huge point of difference for OverActive Media. We're very successful in this space. Again, we do typically multi-year, low 6-figure, reaching into the $1 million deals annually. And that's a very unique and coveted position for OverActive in the global industry. It's also the case that our business attracts a tremendous amount of celebrity to it, and this is true for OverActive Media as well. We have tremendous celebrity endorsement, and as part of our owner group, enjoy these connections among others. Mitch Marner, Toronto Maple Leafs NHL hockey star, global entertainment and Grammy award-winning artist, The Weeknd. Willie Rex and Vegeta are the 2 biggest Spanish-speaking influencers in the world, and as you can imagine, really matter to our European business based in Madrid. Others that are not listed here, again, NHL global hockey star Sidney Crosby, Phil Kessel, Carl Hagelin, both of the NHL. And in our most recent raise, back in Q1 of last year, the Montreal Canadiens made a very significant 7-figure investment in OverActive Media. And so as you look in on our business and think about Again, our differentiation in how we drive revenue into this model. Again, the media rights and the revenue share that we enjoy, courtesy of the investments that we've made in these franchise league positions, the very strong marketing partnership business that we have. In Toronto, we will drive now on the, comfortably, we believe, on the other side of the COVID pandemic. We'll re-engage around live events, and this year we'll host major live events around Call of Duty in June and our Overwatch franchise in September. We're builders and developers of content, of course, for all the platforms, both social media and video-based streaming platforms. And of course, we have our own IP, which we can license into merchandise opportunities and other related positions. As I mentioned earlier, it's been a strong business as we've established it over 3 years. And again, this high gross margin position has us really accelerating both our top line and our success on the bottom line. We delivered just over $14 million in revenue in 2021. That was, again, a 69% increase. And we've already raised more than $100 million. That was as we were heading into our public marketing offering in July. We've seen an incredible amount of growth and, frankly, consolidation in this space, and particularly around big tech entertaining the gaming space and the future of streaming and all of its impact on this generation of fans. Probably the most notable deal in recent time was the Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard. But again, we've seen other deals like Sony's involvement and investment in Bungie and Take-Two and the Zynga partnership. This is all, in our estimation, a strong indication of the consolidation that we'll further expect in this space, and a clear indication on the part of big tech that they believe that esports and gaming are the future of entertainment for this generation. And so we believe OverActive Media is well positioned in all of that to take advantage. I'll spend just a couple of moments giving you background in the context of the industry. You can see that the industry on balance and the revenue growth in it over the last several years has been predictably in the double digits from a CAGR perspective. But maybe as importantly, the sponsorship and media rights have been continuing to grow. In particular, again, to OverActive Media, those sponsorship and media rights drivers that are so applicable to this industry, those biggest deals are getting done at the league level. And so said another way, unless you're invested in the leagues that we're invested in, you're not sharing in that growth. You're not sharing in those key drivers. Because we're invested in the esport franchises that we get to share in that 641 million. We get to share in the broadcast media rights deals that are being done at near 192 million rather. And so again, a unique position for us in the global ecosystem and economics of the industry. This is the opportunity that supports the business thesis, and I'm going to wrap up here quickly, but in 2017, we saw this slide for the first time, and we leave it in our presentation because it's no less relevant today. In that time, in 2017, we noticed the growth of the global esport audience at near 170 million, and the fact that it had already eclipsed Major League Baseball and the National Hockey League seemed really important to us. But on the other side, we also noticed that the average revenue per viewer had not yet been realized at scale. And so that seemed like an arbitrage opportunity for us. And when we looked at that opportunity broadly, we concluded that those franchise investments would be the strongest portion, the strongest opportunity for us to share in the monetization of the industry. And so for those reasons, again, we took the steps that we did to acquire the franchises. I've made the point several times in this call that it's really the differentiated audience that esports represents that sets itself apart. And I think this has in large part been the reason that we've been so successful attracting the marketing partners that we have and those that I mentioned. The average age of the viewer, the global orientation of this audience, and its native digital perspective is, I think all of those things are very relevant to the partners and marketing groups that are getting involved with esports globally, and particularly investing in OverActive Media. And I want to share these next two slides because I think they're important, and then I'm going to wrap it up given the time restriction. But again, if you're a basketball fan, and in particular a fan of the NBA, you would remember the history attached to the growth of the NBA and how considerable that was in the 90s and reaching into the 2000s. There were a number of team transactions that took place at that time. But if you throw out the highs and lows and you average them out, you get the rough equivalent value of just one of the several franchises that we own in these leagues. So in a world today where an NBA franchise is not worth less than $2 billion USD, and in a world where our audience is growing at 5 or 6 times the clip as compared to the NBA in those years, we feel pretty great that we've got our arms around 3 of these franchises. And so have 3 opportunities for growth, 3 opportunities for return against this scarce asset. And we're starting to see these values come together and supported as a scarce asset in the secondary market. Most recently, last year, we saw the soccer club based in Germany, FC Schalke, sell the very same LEC franchise position that we own in Europe for a total of $39 million Canadian, where OverActive Media paid just $12 million Canadian for its franchise, and Schalke and OverActive came into the league at the same time. So this is a very significant part of our business thesis to the long term. These assets, these franchise teams, just like traditional sports teams, have long-term asset value that are defined by the global market as it grows and develops. And that's a very significant portion of the value of OverActive Media inherent in its business model. And we're not the only ones that saw this. This is an indication of our business thesis being well validated by those that have been in the traditional sports space. You would know probably the name, the Kraft family or the Robert Kraft family, who own the New England Patriots. But whether it's the Cronkies or the Wilpons, the Wilfs in Minnesota, or Ted Leonis and Peter Gruber in California, these are all major traditional sports owners that have not only made an investment in the esports industry, they've made an investment in the very same franchise leagues that we have. And they've done that because the business model that supports these leagues is the same one that they've known and benefited by so richly over now many years in the NBA and the NFL and the NHL. So the people that know the business model are invested in these same leagues with us. The most successful people in traditional sports are making investments alongside us in these esport leagues. And then finally, and just to wrap, again, you'll see the progression of our financials, both our revenue and our corresponding margin contribution, but we've been successful over 3 years, ramping our revenue very significantly. Again, our most recent number for 2021, just having been reported yesterday. And you'll also see the impact of that very, very significant scalable and leveraged revenue. The gross margin in this business is inherently so strong that it's helping us really move quickly toward a path to profitability, really reduce those losses year over year in a very timely and efficient way. So again, from an investor perspective, looking in on this industry, in our estimation, there's not a better model than the franchise league model. And I think our continued success from a financial perspective is starting to demonstrate that much. I'll stop there and be pleased to take any questions as time allows.
Thank you, Chris. There's a few questions here. Maybe the first one addressed to you from Grace here. What's the cost for the franchise and the length of the time to get the investment back?
Yeah, it's the cost varies each to the leagues. Again, Activision Blizzard are the owners of the Call of Duty League and the Overwatch League. Those costs, the amount that we paid for those franchises is confidential, but the payment schedule is stretched out over a collection of years and allows for us to manage our cash appropriately.
Sure. This one from Sky W. He's asking, in terms of the event production, is it fully recovered yet from COVID, or?
So we were scheduled to be producing live events in our home market here in Toronto in 2020, and of course never got the opportunity to do that. We'll return to live events this year in June. Overwatch League in September, Call of Duty League in June. And so we're excited to be able to welcome our fans to our live event experience around our teams.
How is this the eSport League marketed to gamers? Do you have an answer for that?
Yeah, sure. So from a marketing perspective, it's done on all the social media channels that you would expect, both at the league level and also among the various teams that are invested in the league locally into their local markets. but probably the strongest marketing position would revolve around the broadcast rights that are on today in the context of Call of Duty and Overwatch on YouTube. Historically, its first year on Twitch, and then it grew to be a YouTube asset. And then in League of Legends, it's on a collection of channels on a non-exclusive basis. But again, the streaming platforms are arguably the most significant marketing opportunity for these leagues.
One last question here from Edith. Can you elaborate more on the competitive space in the market?
The competitive space next to OverActive Media?
Yeah.
Well, again, think of this from a sports perspective. And again, I'm going to assume that at least many on your call would be familiar with either the New York market or the Toronto market from a professional sports perspective. There's only one NHL team in Toronto. There's only one NBA team in Toronto, both owned by Maple Leaf Sports as it happens. But the model is no different. There's no competitive circumstance in our market, and in fact in our country, I would argue, because we buy and enjoy exclusivity in our market. And so as you look in on the esports space in Canada, there's an Overwatch team in Vancouver. Otherwise, the professional teams that are owned in this country, these games played at the highest professional level, are all owned by OverActive Media. And so that's our unique corner in the market.
Okay, good. Thank you for answering all the questions here. Chris here today. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate it, Gilbert.